Coach Jay here with another follow along mobility today. All we're going to need is the foam roller, and we're only focusing from the neck down to the pelvis, and we'll get a little shoulder and hip addressing into it. But the goal isn't to get into the limbs as much as it is to focus on the trunk. Starting at the top of the rib cage. Your foam roller laying back right where the neck stops and the shoulders start. We're starting there. If our hips are down, there's less pressure. If I bring my hips up, there's more pressure. And I can even separate the shoulder blades or find asymmetry here. But all I want you to do is search around just in that about inch top or inch forward, inch back space and see if there's anything that's sore, tight, or tense. And if we find something, we're just gonna stay there for a minute. Slow down the breath. Maybe exaggerate the length of your exhale, add a little pause afterwards. If it's particularly tight, can we hum while we're there? And you'll find that that hum helps us relax not only the tension of the whole system, but in that particular space as well. Finding that most tender spot in that inch up to inch down space, and whatever arm angle or shoulder angle gives us the most amount of change. And then going for our change here. So can we go? Find some way to slow down the breath if you're going for the hum. But after we've spent just about 5 breaths there, we're going to then start to roll our way down just a little further. We're going to do that same game all the way from the top of the shoulder blades down to the bottom of the shoulder blade. Anytime we find a spot that's sore, tight, or tense, adding as much pressure as we can tolerate, finding the arm angle that helps us exaggerate it, and then trying to breathe, hum, or relax into that position. So, I'll continue to search myself. If you need any more time, feel free to pause the video. I've got a spot right here I'm gonna hang out with. And if we can, see if we can get just a little bit of movement at that space. Make sure the movement is coming from that vertebrae or that space, and we're not just moving something else around it. If that's tough on the head, you can feel free to switch this out for a lacrosse ball and come down closer to the ground so the head can rest. But after we finish these shoulder blades, now we're going to lean onto the side. I want us to start high up into the armpit. For some of us, this may be enough pressure, and we're just going to hang out here. For others, you may want to push into the feet to add tension or add pressure. And we can even play around with that that bottom hand. Can it rotate inside or out? And how does that change the sensation for us here? So back to my search. I've got a spot here. I'm just going to rest on top of it. Now, since this ties in the lat and the serratus and kind of that side of our rib cage, we can start to use the ribs leaning into or away from the space and see what changes that tension for us as well. For me, I know it's a little more lat related as I go to roll back, and as I externally rotate my arm, I get a little more of that tension. So I think things are pretty sore from the chin-ups the other day. If there are ever multiple spots, feel free to pause the video for longer if you want to rest on more space or you just need more time. But after that 3 to 8 breath, you should notice that there's a little change in tension there. And that'll give us permission to either continue to search in that area for something different or move over to the other side. For me, the side's a little more serratus, so more that kind of outside of the rib cage region. So I'm going to try to extend or expand there and then really drive my breath, my inhale to open that space and my exhales to relax that space. So. Remember, feel free to continue to search around, see if there's a second spot there that's sore or tight for you. But now that we've got the upper portion able to bend and extend, we've got the arms able to move a little further, and that separation of the rib cage and the shoulder blade is a little easier to access. Now we're going to start to work our way down lower. As we start to get down towards this lower portion past the shoulder blades, we get towards the floating ribs. They don't necessarily have strong connection points to the rest of the system as the ones up top do. If they're sensitive to press into, I encourage you just to bypass over them and then come underneath the rib cage, and we'll start to work there. But if we can comfortably tolerate pressure around that region, same situation we did up top. Once we find something that's tight or tense, as much pressure as feels comfortable, and then we're just trying to move and or hold and breathe in this region. If you're able to move and do this crunch, I want us to think dropping both the hip and shoulder at the same time. So that becomes our high point or our point of extension. And then we curl those other 2 points back in, and that becomes our low point for the body. If you notice one side's a little more restricted than the other, you can always lean more into that side. But we may also notice that this one's a little more breath related. As we start to get down towards the bottom, you can feel that expansion a little bit more. So if this shortens or shallows our breath, I encourage you to pause the video or just spend a little longer in that space until we notice that we can get a little more of that depth of breath back. We may not get all the way there, but just making some kind of subtle improvement here is going to go a long way for you. After we're finished with those spaces, back over onto our side. This time we're trying to get more of that QL and oblique connection. So think the space between our last few ribs and the top of our hip. For some of us, again, maybe just laying into that region is enough. Some of us can add a little more weight or pressure, and some of us can push up into it or add more as desired. Again, there's another option of being able to shift forward. We're getting more into the obliques here, if this is what's sore and tight for you. If we go to lean back more and that's the struggle, then it's your QL or your connection point towards the spine. So I want us to find what's sore or tight for us here. Find the most amount of tension you feel comfortable with. Back to our breath. Figure out whether we can hum or just relax here. Since this isn't as supported of a space when it comes to bony structures, the goal is with every exhale or every release of tension, we should feel as if we're folding and cascading over our foam roller or our ball just a little bit more. Are we melting into that space? Spending a little longer there if you'd like, or taking this time to go ahead and switch over and compare it to the other side. Maybe a little different for each. One you may want to lean further back, the other you may want to lean further forward. Just listening to the feedback of the body, what feels tight and tender, and just spending as much time being slightly uncomfortable but in control of our breath and regulating our heart rate while we're on top of it. By experiencing this little bit of tension and discomfort here and still sending calming signals throughout the system through the breath, the thoughts, and the heart rate, we can signal a release or relaxation of those muscles and fibers. All right, and then our last one. We've already made it down towards the tailbone and the pelvis. We're not necessarily going to get into a ton of hip movement, but I do want to address that very large muscle that controls the hip, and that has a big correlation to how well the hip can sit level or how well it connects to the rest of the spine. We're talking about the glute here. I want us to sit on top of your foam roller. Coming just into the side angle may be enough for some of us, crossing that leg over, and we're just kind of fanning that region, coming all the way down to where the hamstring starts And then rolling your way back up, not above the hip, but just towards the top of the hip. You're gonna find something here that's sore, sensitive, or tender for you. And I want us to rest on top of it. Figure out whether or not leaning in and out of that gives us any change, lifting and dropping the knee, or sliding in and out and across. Find out what gives you the most amount of tension and see if you can still be slow, calm, and collected through our breath and our posture while we're on top of it. I'm gonna go ahead and switch over to my left side. You can spend a little longer here. I just know this side for me needs a little more love. It's not uncommon to find that one side is a little tighter than the other, and as long as you address that through movement and through recovery, normally it won't become a problem. But asymmetries left alone or exaggerated at extreme speeds and intensities, that's when you're asking for disaster. So spending just a little bit more time where we're tight, tense, and making those changes can go a long way. That's all I had for today, guys. I hope you have a beautiful day. Hope we feel better now that practice is over. And we conclude it with just one more breath. A deep inhale. One more to top it off. And a long sighing exhale out the mouth. Chase that exhale as long as you want. Other than that, guys, much love.